Hello and welcome. My name is Seshu and I'm part of DVCOM support and training team. In this video series, mainly I'm going to focus it on Yeastar. As you know that Yeastar, the world's leading provider of SME PBX system. And Yeastar mainly they have a PABX which is P series. And P series is available in 3 different editions. The first one is appliance based. So appliance based is nothing but it's a physical hardware. Based on your requirement, you can choose which is the suitable appliance for you. And second one is software based. So software edition that we are going to give you ISO image, you can directly deploy it in your physical server, or if you want to deploy it in your virtualized environment, you can deploy it directly. And third one is cloud based. So the cloud based is nothing but we are going to create the instance according to your requirement, and you can able to access your instance from anywhere in the world. So that's the beauty of. So basically the P series is available in 3 different editions. So mainly in this series I am going to focus it on appliance edition. So it's a physical hardware box. So let's go and see what are the models are there in appliance edition. So first you can see here there is a P550 and P560 and P570, and P550 we can call it as a fixed model, and P560 and P570 is the modular based. So basically the fixed model is nothing but by default it's going to support 8 analog lines. You cannot increase more than that. By default it's fixed, and it's going to support maximum 50 extensions. So you can call it as a 50 users. So if you have a requirement below 50, you can choose this PABX, and it's going to support up to 25 concurrent calls. In case if you want to terminate your SIP trunk, you can directly terminate. And you can see here there is a LAN port and there is a WAN port. So basically the WAN port we are going to use to terminate your SIP trunk. So you don't require any additional hardware. And again it's going to support analog lines. So it's going to see here there is a 8 analog lines it's going to support by default. In case if you want to terminate BRI, you can terminate it directly. In case if you want to connect your 4G LTE module, you can connect it. So in case if you want to route your calls through your SIM card, you can do it as well. So basically the specifications for this P550 is below 50 users. So if you have a requirement for below 50 users, you can choose this bundle. And next one is that which is P560, and P560 by default it's going to support 100 users, and in case if you want to expand, you can expand to extra 100, so that maximum is going to support 200. And by default the concurrent calls is going to support 30. Once if you expand, it's going to support maximum 60 concurrent calls. And you can terminate your SIP trunk, and also you can terminate your PSTN lines, which is analog lines, or else your BRI. And if you want to terminate your, if you want to connect your SIM cards, you can directly connect it by using 4G LTE module. And also this is like a expansion slot, and this expansion slot either you can use it which is EX8. There is a 2 type of expansion slots is there. The first one is EX8, which is going to support for analog lines, or which is going to support for BRI line, or which is going to support for your 4G LTE module. So basically these are the interfaces which is showing outside, and this expansion slot is which is EX8. So based on the modules which is going to work as per your requirement. So those modules and all we are going to discuss about in next slide. And the next one, there is one more slot which is EX30. So the basic purpose of this EX30 is to terminate your PRI line. So this is you can able to change according to your requirement. Either if you want to terminate your analog line, use your EX8 and respective modules, and if you want to connect the PRI line, you can use EX30 expansion slot. So this is a detachable, you can just remove it and you can just insert it as per your requirement. So that's the beauty of your P560. And again, if you go with P570, By default, it's going to support 300 users. In case if you want to expand, you can expand extra 200, so that maximum it's going to support 500 extensions. And by default, the concurrent calls are going to support 60, and once if you expand, it's going to support maximum 120 concurrent calls. Again, if you want to terminate your SIP trunk, directly you can terminate it. And in case if you want to connect your analog lines, you can connect it directly. In case if you want to connect the BRI, you can connect it directly. And it's going to support your PRI lines as well. And in case if you want to route your calls through your SIM cards, you can just connect your 4G LTE module on top of your EX8 expansion slot, and you can route your calls and you can connect your SIM cards directly. So that's a beauty of P series. And by default, you need to choose either standard plan or enterprise plan or ultimate plan. So you need to choose one of the plan, and based on that, whatever your requirements are there, you can choose according to that. As you know that enterprise plan is most of the customers, they are going to prefer it, because this P series PABX is going to support a lot of call center features. So in case if you want to deploy it as a call center in your environment, the enterprise plan is the suitable version. So that the one more interesting thing is that especially in Yeastar, you no need to go for separate licenses for supervisor, separate license for agents. It's not like that. It's like a bundle solution. So the entire bundle is going to consume one single license. That's the beauty of that. And each license it's going to support different features. Either you can choose standard plan or enterprise plan or ultimate plan. So regarding the licenses, I am going to make you another video, but this video mostly I am going to focus it on in the P series and appliance based, and we discussed about what are the specifications for each and every bundle. So now you can see here something which I told you, what is module. For example, you can see guys, for example you can see here in P550, as I mentioned to you, it's going to support 8 analog lines, right? So in case if you want to connect 8 analog phones, still you can able to connect it. In case if you want to terminate BRI line, still you can terminate it. In case if you want to connect your SIM card, still you can connect it. How it's possible? So it's very simple guys. So basically you can see here, you need to use these modules. So by default, whenever you see in P550, by default when you open this, there is a 4 sub slots are there inside your P550. So in each slot belongs to 2 interfaces. So for example, whenever you see from outside, there is a total 8 interfaces are showing. For example, I want to connect 8 analog lines. So there is a 4 slots are available. This is your slot number 1. This is your slot number 2. This is your slot number 3. This is your slot number 4. So each slot belongs to 2 interfaces. So for example, this belongs to port number 1 and port number 2. Slot number 2 belongs to port number 3 and port number 4. And slot number 3 belongs to port number 5 and port number 6. And slot number 4 belongs to port number 7 and port number 8. For example, if I want to terminate 8 analog lines, so what you have to do, you need to use the O2 module. So the O2 module is for FXO. FXO is nothing but Foreign Exchange Office. The lines which you are getting from your service provider, the analog lines, you can terminate it directly. So by default, these modules, it's not available with P series. You need to purchase separately. So if you want to terminate analog lines, so you need to have this module. So you can see here. So you need to purchase, for example, 8 analog lines you want to connect to your PABX. Then you need to have 4 O2 modules. In each slot, what you are going to do, you are going to insert one O2 module. You can see here, if I insert one O2 module here, then port number 1 and port number 2 get activated. If you insert one more O2 module in slot number 2, port number 3 and port number 4, you can terminate analog lines. And if you insert one more O2 module in slot number 3, port number 5 and port number 6 is going to get activated. And if you insert one more O2 module, you can terminate 2 analog lines on port number 7 and port number 8. It's a purely your requirement, guys. So in case you can see here, there is a S2 module. So the purpose of S2 module, if you want to connect analog phones, this is a FXS ports. FXS is nothing but foreign exchange station. So in case if you want to terminate analog phones, you can use S2 module. And in case if you want to connect your SIM card, you can use 4G LTE module. In case if you want to terminate your BRI line, you can use the BRI module. And there is a SO module. So one of the port is going to act as a FXS and one of the port is going to act as a FXO. So these are the different modules are there. But again, keep in your mind, so if you want to insert these modules, you require EX8. EX8 is the expansion slot. In case if you want to connect on top of P560 and P570. So that's very important, guys. But again, if you are going with the P550, it's a fixed model, and by default whenever you open the P550, then by default, as I mentioned to you, there is a 4 sub slots are there like this. So by default these slots are empty, so there is no modules. So according to your requirement you need to choose. But in case if you are going with P560, make sure that it's a modular based, and by default it's going to support one expansion slot. P560 is going to support one expansion slot, and that expansion slot either you can connect, let me write for you guys, the P560 is going to support one expansion slot by default. Either you can connect EX8 or EX30, it's your choice. In case if you are going to connect EX30, which means you are going to terminate the PRI line. In case if you are going to connect EX8, and you can choose according to your requirement, guys. So that either you can use O2 module or S2 module or 4G LTE module, or you can use S4 module, or you can use BRI module. It's a purely your requirement. And in case if you are going with P570, it's going to support 2 expansion slots, guys. 2 expansion slots. So the beauty of this, you can connect 2 EX8, so which means if you want to terminate 16 analog lines, you can directly terminate it. Or else if you want to connect 2 PRI lines, you can terminate it. Or else if you say that I want to terminate 1 PRI line, or I want to terminate couple of analog lines, so that you can go with 1 EX30 and you can go with 1 EX8. It's a purely your choice, guys. So that according to your requirement you can choose it. And good thing is that you can expand your PABX to up to 100 extensions. As I mentioned to you, P560 by default it's going to support up to 100 extensions. In case if you want to expand, make sure that you require D30 module. So this is your D30 module, guys. You can directly insert in your PABX, so that it's going to give it's going to allow to add extra 100 extensions and extra 30 concurrent calls. So if you are going with the P560, by default it's going to support 100 extensions. In case if you are going to add D30, then it's going to support extra 100, so that maximum you can go for 200 extensions. And the default concurrent calls are 30, and it's going to support extra 30 concurrent calls. So maximum is going to support 60 concurrent calls. That's the beauty of this. In case if you are going with P570, by default it's going to support 300 extensions, and you need to add 2 D30 modules. For example, if you add 1 D30, let's say that you add 1 D30, and it will give you extra 100 extensions, guys. So that 300 plus 100, it will be 400. And by default it's going to support 60 concurrent calls plus 30. Once you add the D30, it's going to add extra 30, so that it will give you 90 concurrent calls. And again, by default P570 is going to support 2 D30s. For example, if I add one more D30, so that it's going to give you extra. For example, if I add 2 D30s, so D is nothing but it's a DSP module, guys. And if you add 2 D30, it's going to give you extra 200 extensions, so that you can go 300 plus 200, you can increase extra 500 extensions or 500 users. and by default it's going to support 60 concurrent calls. So the moment when you add 2 D30s, it's going to give extra 60 concurrent calls. So maximum 120 concurrent calls you can proceed. So that's the beauty of your P570, guys. So you can choose according to your requirement. Why? Because each PABX, each model, like each appliance has a different specifications. As per your requirement, you can choose. So this is what the complete overview about Yeastar P series appliance. So in case if you have a sales related inquiries, you can send us an email sales@datavoice.com. For support, please send us an email support@datavoice.com. I hope this has been informative and I would like to thank you for viewing.